Rest in peace, my friend. Your water belongs to the tribe. Wait, what is this? This is Diet Coke? What is with this Theorists and their Diet Coke?
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Film Theory, the show that has milked the worm, drank the juice, and seen the universe. My god, it's full of stars. So, something you're gonna quickly learn about me is that I love science fiction, and there is no other story more important to the genre than Dune. Have you ever seen a sci-fi movie go to a desert planet, or have a complex political conflict that escalates into a galaxy-wide war? That means a certain somebody read Dune. Though the movie doesn't really explain this, Dune is set some 20,000 years in the future, where there are a few noble families that walk a complicated political tightrope for control of the whole galaxy. Think Game of Thrones, but in space. Or I guess Game of Thrones would be Dune without space. The most important world in this universe, however, is Arrakis, a desert planet home to the spice, a drug that expands your mind and lets you see bits and pieces of the future. Without spice in that future site, space travel is impossible, and that's kind of important for your sci-fi space story. Now, Dune has seen its fair share of attempted adaptations over the years. Some bad.
The guild does not take your orders.
And others worse.
He who controls the spice controls the universe.
But finally, we have the perfect adaptation that this series deserves. Just saying, they have to make the third movie now, or we riot. But in the meantime, now that Dune has well and truly broken into the mainstream, I thought we should revisit the series for another theory. Now, don't you worry if you don't know your Caladans from your Kwisatz Haderachs. We're not diving into Dune's complex politics or funny made-up words. Nah, today I wanted to take a look at the planet that made Dune famous, Arrakis, and what you'd need to survive on it. Obviously, this world is hot. A scorching desert where water is more valuable than life, so much so that it's sacred to the local Fremen people. And they take that seriously. On this world, your water, your tears, your blood, your sweat, etc., it doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the tribe, and wasting it by crying or vomiting, not okay. Spitting is seen as a sign of great respect because it's giving your water.
Thank you, Stilgar, for the gift of your body's moisture.
To get as much water as possible, the Fremen have developed a lot of tech to get every last drop that they can. Wind traps capture what little moisture is in the air. Death stills extract water from fallen friend and foe alike. And of course, there are the stillsuits. You know, those really cool black costumes that we see Timothee Chalamet and Zendaya wearing in all the posters. When worn, these stillsuits are able to reclaim almost all of the water someone loses in a given day, purifying it and allowing them to drink it all over again. Now, on the surface, recycling and then sipping on the water of your own body sounds kinda gross. And you know what? It is. Thankfully, it's all fiction. Or is it? Today, I want to really dive into the science behind these stillsuits, how they work in the movie, how they're powered, and exactly how they reclaim all of that water, and see if this piece of science fiction is actually science fact. Long live the fighters, loyal theorists. Let's see if a stillsuit holds any water. Alright, so the best place for us to start here is exactly why the stillsuits are so important, and it comes down to why water is so important. Our bodies are somewhere between 55 and 60% water, so 154-pound or 70-kilogram Timothee Chalamet would have a little over 42 liters or 92 pounds of water in his body at any given time. All of that water is necessary for you to regulate your temperature, lubricate your joints, and get rid of waste, that sort of thing. If you don't drink water, your body doesn't work, and just 3 days without water can be fatal. Now, normally you'd lose somewhere between 2.5 and 3 liters of water per day in average conditions here on Earth. But if you're working hard, or in a hot climate, like say, I don't know, running from a sandworm on a desert planet where temperatures can reach as high as 138 degrees Fahrenheit, 59 degrees Celsius, you would lose as much as 19 liters per day. That would be almost half of Timothee Chalamet's water. Obviously, that would be bad. In fact, the movie even points out that on Arrakis,
even this early in the morning, you wouldn't survive 2 hours without one of these.
So you can see why these stillsuits are so important for the characters in Dune. But what exactly do they do? Well, stillsuits are able to capture nearly every drop of water that a person would ordinarily lose during day-to-day activities. That water is then filtered in the suit so it can be drunk through a straw in the mask, creating a sort of closed loop of water.
In good working order, your suit won't lose more than a thimbleful of water a day.
Would a civilization 20,000 years in the future know what a thimble is? I barely know what a thimble is. ounces. Anyway, by that metric, that means you'd be losing about 5 milliliters of water a day. Again, if you're losing about 19 liters of water, that means the stillsuits are recovering 99.97% of the water lost. That's incredibly efficient, and a pretty good explanation of how you'd survive on this desert planet. But is that figure realistic? Could we feasibly do this in the real world, on our real planet, and not in some crazy sci-fi future? Well, to answer that, we need to look at 3 things: how we lose water in our day-to-day lives, how to capture that water, and then how to make it safe to drink, if we can do that at all. Let's start with the number one way someone on Arrakis is going to be losing their water. Undoubtedly, their sweat. Sweat is roughly 99% water, with the other 1% being various salts and fats. And a person can sweat between 500 milliliters and 10 liters per day if you're doing hard work in the heat. Yeah, 10 liters. That's 5 of those big sodas you see in the grocery store. But sweating is more than just producing salty water. It's actually critical for us to maintain our body temperatures. The average internal temperature of the human body is around 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit or 37 degrees Celsius. But every time you move, breathe, or even think, your body produces excess heat. Sweat is how your body gets rid of that excess heat, with the water in sweat evaporating and taking the heat with it, thus cooling you down. This is actually why the whole idea of a skin-tight suit isn't exactly something you'd expect to come from a desert-faring civilization. I mean, just look at what people in the real world actually wear if they live in arid parts of the planet, like the Middle East or North Africa. They tend to be large gowns or robes made from breathable fabric that intentionally fits loosely on the body. This way, sweat can freely build up and evaporate. Your body actually disperses 90% of its heat through sweat alone, which is gonna be kinda difficult if you can't sweat at all. Yeah, you might have noticed that evaporation is kind of critical for this whole system to work. And if you've ever worn a skin-tight piece of clothing before, you know that fabric breathability is a must. Thankfully, though this isn't really explored in the movie, this is something the original author Frank Herbert thought of for the stillsuits. As the character Liet Kynes puts it, the skin contact layer is porous, perspiration passes through it, having cooled the body, a near normal evaporation process. So to translate, the layer of the suit that touches your skin is covered in little holes that let sweat pass through. This is actually how most athletic wear works in the real world. Moving on, the number 2 way your body loses its water is through your breath. Yeah, that might come as a bit of a surprise, but have you ever wondered why you can see your breath when it's cold outside? Why glass fogs up when you breathe on it? Or why you sometimes wake up with a super dry mouth? It's because you exhale water every single time you breathe. However, unlike sweat, our breath only contains about 0.05% water, which adds up to you breathing out about a cup of water every single day. Not as much as a bunch of 2 liters, but still super valuable to the Fremen. This is actually why all the Fremen wear those face masks and nose tubes. Well, unless you're a named character, then you gotta prune up in the desert because you are a recognizable actor. My apologies to Zendaya's skincare routine.
Wear your sunscreen.
And as for number 3, it's going number 1. Yep, it's pee. Listen, we all knew this one was coming. For a person in an average environment who isn't sweating up a storm, urine is actually the biggest source of water loss in any given day, with somewhere between 800 and 2,000 milliliters of pure pee. That's enough to fill up a 2 liter of Mountain Dew without anyone noticing. Urine is 95% water, with the rest being urea, salts, and ammonia. So you can imagine why the Fremen would be pissed to lose any of that liquid gold. Now, before you see that 95% water figure and decide to go all Bear Grylls on your toilet bowl, despite popular opinion, pee is not sterile. You should not be drinking this stuff. This is my 3rd episode, and I'm already giving a PSA on not to drink your own pee. What are we doing here, guys? Urine contains bacteria that can make you sick, and all that salt wouldn't just make it taste awful. Ironically, it would dehydrate you in the same way ocean water would, so not something you'd be in the mood for.
What's mood to do with it?
So our stillsuits are gonna need a way to purify all this sweaty pee breath, as gross as that sounds, but this is totally within the realm of possibility. In fact, we don't even have to look at some future sci-fi tech. This is something that real-world space agencies like NASA are using right now. Keeping the scientists on the International Space Station, or ISS, alive is no easy feat, and getting supplies to space is very expensive. It costs roughly $2,500 to send a single pound into space. And considering that each astronaut drinks about 1 gallon of water, 8.3 pounds every single day, that means it would cost NASA about $20,850 per astronaut per day just to keep them hydrated. As a result, NASA had to get really clever about recycling water and developed a system that would make the Fremen proud. For sweat and breath, the ISS is equipped with a super advanced dehumidifier that collects all of that sweet, sweaty breath. And as for the pee, the astronauts astronauts have a special toilet that sucks away all of their urine into a rapidly spinning drum, whose high speed allows for the distillation of the water from the rest of the urine. Then, all the reclaimed water is filtered and funneled back into the astronaut's tap. Is this why kids don't want to be astronauts anymore? Regardless, according to